Alright, welcome to showcase number 116. So I'd like to start today off with an apology because this showcase is probably the latest one we've ever had, I think, on a Monday instead of a Friday. I have had a couple misses here and there, but I haven't really ever said, okay, it'll be Saturday, it'll be Sunday, it'll be Monday. So I'd like to explain that first, and then we're going to get into everything today, and I'm sure you guys have questions based on what you're seeing on screen right now. So again, just be patient. I'm going to go through all of it pretty steadily, I think, and the first 5 minutes of this video, if you aren't interested in that stuff, is going to be hell and very boring. But you can just skip ahead if that's the case. Otherwise, I think it's pretty important, so I implore you guys to listen, especially if you're in the community and familiar with the game and everything. So anyway, the reason that this is so late is because this entire weekend and for the past week, I have been fiddling with forum stuff. More specifically, this weekend I've been fiddling with forum stuff. Last week, I actually set up a forum. Now, this should be an ideally easy task. It should not be that hard, and it wasn't really, fundamentally speaking, but there's a lot of weird inconsistencies between versioning, and I personally probably would have done a lot better if I knew more about Unix systems. Just throwing that out there, it's true. However, I do believe they're very frustrating to use, and as a result of that fact, it took probably an extra day or two to get it fully worked out. However, despite that fact, we have a forum now, which is fantastic, so I'd say it was worth last week's effort, and for the past weekend, I've been setting it up, so to speak, I guess you could say. If we walk through here, we can see I've posted in a bunch of these different places. It works right now. You can go to the website, or up here, it's forum.verdict.dev. You might notice an inconsistency there. The wiki is on verdict.dev.wiki, or sorry, verdict.wiki, and this is on forum.verdict.dev. So I'm probably going to switch that around. The issue is that there's no verdict.forum, so I can't have it match that way, but I'm not really a fan of the subdomain. So I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure what to do about that. I might have it under a folder, so it might just all be under this domain, but anyway, that's a minute thing. It's not a big deal. The important thing is that we have, and I'll talk about this in a second, we have a forum, and like I said, I've been posting in it, and you can check it out and again, actually register and log in. Now, something important to note there is nothing is happening here, and I assure you that your posts will probably be deleted if you post right now, mainly because I'm sure a lot of people are going to troll and just post garbage, but also because I'm testing stuff and there's no guarantee any of it will stay. So if you are posting, make sure you're aware of that risk. I'm definitely going to be fiddling quite a bit more, and again, you know, it took me 3 days, so we're going to have a lot more fiddling, basically. Anyway, all the stuff in here is, I mean, mostly set up. I am not a PHP BB maniac. I don't know everything about it, but I think it's relatively straightforward. I went through and I added a guide to most of the forums, or subforums. So if we go to the board index, you can see, if we go inside the game, you can see the subforums here, and I have put a post in most of these. Go into development, you can see one in bug reports, which is another subforum. Go into in character, you can see one here and here and here. So there's a post in basically every forum, and they're all relatively self-explanatory. The only ones that really matter a lot are like these. So it tells you how to report a bug, which is obviously pretty important because I don't want that to be just through the Discord server. And then we also have some stuff up here for other channels, like Official Guides has another post for a starter guide. So this has some introductory info because currently the only way to get that is through the wiki or through asking people on Discord, which I think is stupid, so I fixed that with that, and that'll have to be updated. But so we have an official guides thing here, a forum for admin approved guides, and then a player guides thing for unsubstantiated guides, I guess, and a couple others. I've decided that our quote-unquote salt mines will be named Clown College, as that made me laugh really hard when someone suggested it. So it's your standard salt mines procedure. That'll be something we flesh out later with rules and all that jazz, but I hope you guys appreciate the name because it's pretty funny to me and it's pretty worthy. If I could, I would have it play a clown noise whenever you post, but I don't think I can. Anyway, on a more serious note, let me know what you think about the theme, the style, and everything. I think this is something that's mostly going to differ between people. I know people are not going to agree on this because it's, like a lot of stuff with Verdict, people have very slightly different opinions about things. And I get that. It's totally cool. But I do want to hear feedback in general about it. Like, if the layout is very frustrating or something like that, that's important to me. If you don't like the colors, I mean, that's also important to me. But, like, in general, try to keep it layout focused, you know, structure focused, etc. Also, before I move on to other stuff, gameplay related stuff, which I'll probably have to cram in here because I've already spent so long in the forum, I need to say this because I know every single person and their mother will ask about this. It's like the most hotly debated topic, or not hotly debated, but hotly asked about topic. We will not have applications on this forum for a decent while. And when I say applications, I mean in-game application, like as in for abilities or for roles and that kind of thing. It's probably not going to happen anytime soon. There's no forum yet for it, and I don't anticipate adding one for stuff like abilities for a considerable length of time. I generally consider that to be a good thing, but just generally, I mean, again, generally, I keep saying that word. Overall, I want that to be an important thing that we think about and are very careful about because it quickly gets out of control. So that's not going to be in at the start, but we will have applications for staff positions. So if you want to be a mapper, if you want to be an admin, if you want to be a moderator, etc., those will all be there. The one other thing that I really want to mention, because this forum has a bit, it's a little different than what you would normally expect from an admin system and everything. I want to stress that if there is an issue with admins, there are avenues to complain about that here, and if an admin is particularly heinous, I will explain publicly why they were let go. I want to be very clear on that, and I don't want there to be any suspicion about, hey, why is this happening with this admin, or why is this admin going away, or why is my favorite admin not here anymore, and that kind of thing, right? If it's someone that just frankly fucked up, it's a kind of embarrassing thing, it's not to be talked about, it's not going to be posted here. If it's like cheating or something like that, I'm going to post it here. I think cheating as an admin is not irresponsible, frankly. I think it's disgusting. So I'm absolutely going to put that on blast in this forum. And in addition to that, it's kind of an extension. I also have a thing in here where if you cheat as an admin, the ban appeal is just outright rejected when it's posted or deleted. So I don't think that that's like a super huge deal, but I want you guys to understand my stance on that. And I know that not everyone's going to watch this, but like just generally, again, that word is really tracking me down, but I want you guys to be aware of what I think about that and be 100%, transparent, I guess is the best word. Anyway, I think that's enough for the forum stuff. Again, you can make an account here, post stuff. I'll probably delete your posts though, either accidentally or intentionally, so take that with a grain of salt. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that so far. It's been a long time coming. I don't know why I waited so long. I mean, I kind of do now that I worked so long on that PHP BB thing. That was awful. But whatever the case, we're going to move on to some very quick segments here for the actual verdict stuff. And I'll try to fit those in as quick as possible. I hope you enjoy and look forward to that. Okay, so one thing I forgot to mention in the intro there is the actual forum server is separate from the verdict game server. You can't see that now because I'm on my personal test server, but what that means is basically that if the game server goes down, the forum server doesn't as well, and that's, it goes vice versa in addition. But anyway, that's not a big deal. What I actually want to show off here is something relatively new. It's region and map transition naming, which probably sounds kind of complicated, but it's really not. It's the most visual thing I could show off in the showcase, I think. TLDR, for regions, if you've ever heard me talk about them before in a showcase, it's probably like a introspective, prospective kind of thing. Regions were how I decided I was going to handle ore drops and stuff like that. And I recently expanded them to basically handle any area. And what that means is you could have a district of a city, you could have the town itself, or you could have maybe just a cave, and so on and so forth. And they're basically, if you took a large map, which is what we're on right now, this big whole thing, I accidentally picked up that weapon, and divided it up into different shapes and sizes and so on and so forth, those would be individually regions. So they're kind of like maps inside of a map, but they don't really serve any inherent purpose in Velocity. What they do now, though, is when you walk into a new one, it shows the region name on your screen. It's a fade in, which is kind of cute, and obviously it displays wherever you're walking to, which is kind of cool. It does get a little bit annoying if the regions are really close together. So you can see it kind of spams you. If we can walk again, I guess even when they're pretty close, it's not a big deal. But anyway, you get the idea. In reality, it's not actually going to be every 2 steps that you get a new region name. It's going to be something where you're actually having to walk pretty far, like 30 or 40 tiles, before you ever encounter something like that. So I might make it even briefer so you don't have to see the text on the screen for so long. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, The real deal is the map transfers. So this map is very creatively named 01. That is the name in the code, which stands for the third map on the first layer, or second map, sorry, on the first layer. So it's on the first row and the second column, I guess you could say. However, in the future, or actually right now, this can have what's called a topical name, which is what players see. So obviously currently it has 01, but that's because it doesn't have a topical name. Anyway, if we walk here, we can see we get the map name on our screen with much larger text. Of course, this would be way easier to see and to show off if I had decided to give it a topical name, but we're here now, and we're testing it anyway, so I might as well. If we walk back, we get 00, because this is that map's name. It's the first column in the first row. And same deal if we walk back again. There's currently no way to bug this. You can see that it just fades in and fades out. There's no, like, buggy situation. Like, you can literally spam walk back and forth to get it to disappear faster, but I don't think that that's that big of a deal. Like, it's not going to be that big of a deal if you see the text for half a second less time, especially if you're doing it purposefully. So I'm not too concerned about that, but whatever the case, I think we're ready to move on to whatever clip comes next. I'm not sure what that is, but we'll see in just a second here. Okay, so this clip is actually going to be about something we forgot about last week, and while technically I did forget about it, it wouldn't be fair to not mention the fact that we didn't have enough time, so it's better that it was this week anyway. But regardless, I'm going to go ahead and hit overcharge for a reason I'll mention in a second here. But anyway, the big deal with this clip and with this section is that I've redone particle systems, which is a very, very fancy way of saying that I've slightly improved the particles, how they look, different behaviors, which have improved quite a bit if you ask me, and a couple other things related to particles in general. So the first big one is stand tall, which is the reason that I'm currently trying to kill myself, or at least kill my HP. Stand tall scales to the amount of HP that you're missing. It gives you a large amount of healing, which is always great depending on how low you are, and it also increases the number of particles if you're lower rather than higher. That's relatively basic, but stand tall has some of the coolest particles in the game, in my opinion, because they use something called curl noise, and as a result of that fact, they look really cool. The first thing we're going to show off, though, because it will take us a while to drain out our HP, as we are level like 300 something, I'm going to hit Raging Sun instead, which prior was just some random fire effects thrown about, and is now a combination effort of both flames, these little embers, as well as some smoke particles, which you might not be able to see on YouTube, but whatever. You can also see these pulses from Overcharge are a lot more dynamic. That's also a kind of fancy way of saying something very simple. They're just handled a lot better than I used to because I'm actually using Trig now, which is a smart thing to do. It's a smart person thing. I apologize for it being dark, by the way. This should rotate pretty fast. I have the thing spinning really quickly, of course, the clock. Anyway, we're probably low enough to see this. If I hit stand tall, you can see these little particles running around me and some heals, which is cute and cool. They look quite a bit like embers, I guess you could say, and more so than the ordinary ones, of course. The big deal with this altogether is that particles in general are just much more appealing. So as I said, we have that new Raging Sun one, and it's a little brighter now so we can more freely mess with this stuff. Anyway, I'll use stand tall again in a second, but the other thing that I've changed to use Raging Sun's similar particle system is, and I'm calling them particle systems now because I'm a very fancy professor, apparently, is Cryogenics. So Cryogenics is the spell that it will pulse a couple times and root you in place, and anyone who's caught at the end, if they have chill stacks, or over 10 chill stacks, it'll freeze them in place, so it'll stun them. And that looks like this, so it spawns these around the place, and then bam, it shakes the screen and makes that little circle. Ordinarily, this looks very boring because no one's in the ring. If someone's in the ring, however, and has 10 stacks of chill, it like combusts a bunch of snowflakes on them, which is pretty cool. And in general, a lot of this stuff has just been improved. So Fireball, if I had a way of hitting someone right now, would also be able to show off those little burn ticks, which are now adjusted to fit the player sprite as well, which is awesome. That's something I have to do in a bunch of other places. We can go ahead and hit stand tall again here. You can see that little first initial puff and then some trailing smoke afterwards, or trailing embers afterwards. It's a kind of small effect, but I'm pretty proud of it. It looks cute and everything, which is honestly how I feel about most of these. I just wanted to bring it up in the showcase because prior they looked kind of disappointing, and I think that particle effects really make a lot of spells, not just in pixel art games, but in MMOs in general. So I hope you guys appreciate that. I know it's kind of a small thing, and I know I could go over quite a few of them if I wanted to, but you know, it's worth it's worth a brief mention. The other thing that I want to mention, this clip, which is not necessarily related to particle effects, is the new lightning spell called Heaven's Wrath. So I have a kind of critical illness where I keep giving lightning spells a ridiculous amount of cool mechanics. So I kind of had to tone this one back a little bit. It's basically just a series of linear homings, if that makes sense. I have to quickly TP to a player. We're going to TP here, I think. Here we go. And I'm going to demonstrate this. It's very straightforward. I'll get done here, I guess. Essentially, you fire forward. You can imagine it as sort of like a beam, I guess. It's, adjacent to a beam. It has the same kind of pattern, basically. So if we hit 1, which is Heaven's Wrath, you can see it forms those little dots, and it forms the lightning strikes thereafter. So it is just a series of 4, not really homings. It's a singular homing, I guess you could say, because it targets them initially and doesn't relocate, and then obviously explodes after a brief delay. This is meant to typically hit once, so the 4 are not ever going to hit, or are never going to hit all at once, because that's technically impossible, I think. I hope it is. Either way, again, lightning has some of the coolest spells in the game, with Thunderstorm being one of the most unique spells in the game, and Zenith of Speed being also very unique. So I wanted to give it something a little less unique, more generic, and I think this serves the purpose pretty well. For the record, it does not have infinite range, so if I stand back here and cast it, I obviously can't because the range is defaulted, but if I stand up here, it is the same distance, roughly speaking, and will always go about the same length. The actual mechanical range will be lowered in the future, or raised in the future, sorry, to a much more substantial standard. So you can imagine if I'm standing back here, it would only go out to like about here, and that'll probably be reduced in the future because it's still pretty big. But anyway, without further ado, I think we're about ready to move on to the outro, along with some miscellaneous stuff that I've been working on, so you guys can tune into that if you're less curious about visual things and more curious about the behind-the-scenes stuff, which I'm sure like 2 of you are. But either way, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you enjoy whatever's coming next. Okay, so for an outro today, I'm just going to run around here. I'll probably stand still in a second so you can die of boredom, but anyway, the big deal with what I've been doing recently is basically cleanup. So we have the clothing. Well, we have some clothing. I want more, obviously, but we have enough, I would say, to get a test server up and running. So once that's once I get that converted, I should say, we will be good, I think. The big deal now is just cleaning up stuff, making stuff look nice, making stuff not be hugely buggy, which I think is not the case with most things. There are a few big ones that I need to fix still, but in general, it's mostly just on me coding, because in the past month or so, past 2 or 3 months, I guess, I've had the mantra of, well, we need art, so I'm just going to make a lot of features, and then now I'm staring at the features going, okay, well, we have all the art, but now I need to fix the features up and make them very pretty and everything. So it's kind of a catch-22, but it overall is a very good catch-22 because it means the game is more polished, has more content, has more features like the targeting bar, which wouldn't have been here, the new particle systems, just general things like that. I'm very happy with the decision I made. It's just now I have to spend some time, polishing it off and everything. Anyway, that's okay though. I'm very excited about that fact. I'm really happy we have the clothing. I've already split that up, and I'm going to be putting that through Spine. I apologize again for the wait on this showcase. I feel so bad about that because I personally struggle with some highs and lows. I go through periods where I'm extremely motivated, and I do an almost unhealthy amount of work in mere hours. And then I obviously have the averages, and then I have the lows where I do, I don't have a lot of motivation to do speaking and stuff like that and, kind of be personable. However, obviously now I'm a little bit better about that. So again, I apologize about the wait. It was just really mistimed, and the weekend wasn't a great time for it anyway. So whatever the case, I hope you guys appreciate that. And I hope you guys apologize for that. No, I apologize for that and the delay and everything. And I hope it was worth it anyway, even if it was 8 minutes of talking about a forum. And I also hope you guys appreciate the forum, because I think that'll be pretty fun. People were asking about that a long time ago. For some reason, I thought we didn't need one, thought we, shouldn't have one, or rather thought it wasn't necessary, and blah, blah, blah. But I've come around to actually thinking it's a really good idea, and I'm looking forward to integrating a bunch more stuff with it. So look forward to that, and look forward to next week's showcase, I guess. I appreciate you guys sticking around, and I appreciate you guys watching on Monday instead of Friday because of my lazy ass. Anyway, have a great day, have a great week, and I hope to see you in game soon once we get it up and running.